Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, Bryce Simon's going to join me, and we're going to talk about Tyrese Haliburton dominating the New York Knicks on the Pacers' way to a 3-1 series lead in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Oklahoma City Thunder also have a 3-1 lead after what was one of the most fun basketball games we've seen in a little while in the Western Conference Finals. We'll talk a little bit about early entry decisions in the NBA draft as well, but first, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What's this gonna be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? How are you? You know what I love most about sports, and specifically playoffs, is when players respond. And it's just different in the playoffs. When you're watching regular season, you know, you catch a game, and then it may be a week or so before you catch another game. And so you don't necessarily see that as much. But Tyrese Haliburton's response to how Game 3 went, specifically in the second half, and the mentality shift and the performance he put tonight was just incredible. And it's one of my favorite things. Like, I don't have a dog in the fight whenever I watch the NBA, which makes it even better for me. And watching players respond on the biggest stages in moments like this, I just find a lot of joy in that. Like, just as somebody who loves this game and this sport, I find joy in watching players do that regardless of whose team it's for.
That was as dominant an offensive game from somebody not named Nikola Jokic as I've seen in a while. From top to bottom, from Tyrese Haliburton. That was a masterpiece tonight. He absolutely just went out and painted his Sistine Chapel against the New York Knicks. They win 130-121. Tyrese Haliburton becomes the first player in NBA playoff history to go 30 points, 10 rebounds, 15 assists with 0 turnovers in a basketball game. Like, just let that wash over you for a second. Think about how ridiculous that is. Think about how obscene and absurd that is, given how much he has the ball in his hands throughout the course of a basketball game. To have 0 turnovers and 15 assists while also dominating and going for 30 plus yourself.
So that's what's funny, Sam, is like, which part of that stat line is the most impressive? Is it the fact that he came out so aggressive and scored 32 on 23 shots? Is it that he had 15 assists? Is it that, as he joked at the end of the game, he went and grabbed 12 rebounds, all defensive, by the way, all defensive rebounds? Or is it that he had 0 turnovers while putting up that kind of usage in field goal attempts and creation for his teammates? I don't know. Like, I would listen to about any of them other than on, like, not the rebounding, but the other stuff is all just, it's crazy. And offense is an important word here. But the other thing is he had 4 steals in this game. This has been a theme with Tyrese all season and into the playoffs, is at the very least, he is bought in on that end of the floor that gives multiple efforts and uses his length to cause disruption. I can think of a couple plays off the top of my head where he deflected the ball at least as well that didn't end up in steals and turnovers. It just, like you said, it was a masterpiece from Tyrese.
And even beyond just the sheer stats, and look, he had 15, 6, and 5 in the first quarter tonight. It was the mentality shift to me.
Oh my gosh.
Like, the aggressiveness. And by the way, this is something that we talked about in the series preview, that we talked about throughout the course of the series. It's always about the transition defense for the Knicks. It was all about the transition defense and how they were going to be able to match up in transition. And by making the decision to play 2 bigs in Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns, you are making a decision to get run out of a building at times. Mitchell Robinson tonight played 19 minutes and was minus 20 in his minutes. And it felt that way.
It did.
There are too many guys on the court for Haliburton to target when you have all of Mitch, Towns, and Brunson out there together. There are too many ways to do it. There are too many ways to find different screen matchups for him to be able to turn the corner. The thing that they did tonight in the first quarter, particularly that I loved, is they didn't just run one middle ball screen, didn't just run one, high ball screen action. They would run like combo screens. Like you would have Siakam set like a ghost screen going into like Nesmith coming up and setting a step up on this, right side of the court, right? Or you would see, a delayed double drag kind of situation, right? It was always to get Mitchell Robinson as the second defender up there. The thing we've talked about with the Pacers all playoffs and like in the back half of the season is they are incredibly intentional in how they go about attacking what they want to attack defensively. And you saw that on perfect display tonight. Knowing that there are two bigs on the court, they ramped up the tempo into overdrive tonight. They said, we are beating them down the court every single time. If it's a miss, if it's a turnover, we're sprinting down the court. And we are making them cross-match in the way that we want to cross-match. It was incredible to watch them tonight.
And we'll talk about that from the Knicks perspective, because I find it so interesting now, especially whenever you look at the minutes played tonight and even in the last two games, who's actually been on the floor. Like Tibbs is just like, I feel like he's just playing to the fan base and the people that are calling for a change. Like he's still gone to the starting lineup at the end of the games anyway. So we know where his confidence lies. But what I have said about Haliburton and this Pacers team was Haliburton had to be the best player. Pascal Siakam is awesome. If Pascal Siakam is going to be their best player, and I know Pascal is a champion, I understand it, but then they're not going to go win the NBA championship, in my opinion. In my opinion, we needed the first 40, whatever game sample it was from the 23-24 Tyrese Haliburton season, when there was like MVP talk, right? That's not hyperbole, right? Like my mind isn't gone here and misremembered.
No, he was legitimately top 5, I think, midway through the year in MVP voting.
And then he hurt
23-24.
And then he hurt his hamstring. If you get that mentality, it doesn't even have to be the production, Sam. You hit the word on the head. It's mentality for Tyrese. He has to be willing to take 23 shots. Tonight, he happened to make 11 of them. I don't care if he makes 6 of them. If he goes 6 for 23 and he's still creating and not turning it, that is the mentality that gives Indiana a chance to win big. When he's taking 12 shots, or I don't feel like he's being aggressive to score in the fourth quarter of a game 3, that's when I have a little less faith in them in terms of the ceiling of who they can be. And tonight was just, it was like you said, it's picture perfect of what he can be and what this team can be.
Totally agree with you. Completely agree. And, you brought up the Siakam thing. Siakam was amazing tonight too.
He absolutely,
on 11 for 21 was such a disruptive mismatch nightmare on the offensive end for the Knicks to deal with. Anytime he gets
why is that? Why is he a miss? Oh, because Karl Anthony Towns is trying to guard him to start halves because they're playing too big, so you can't have OG on him. Sorry, this just is very frustrating to me. And I wasn't trying to throw shots at Siakam. Like he's had 2 huge games, 2 30-point games in this series now. So
Siakam has been incredible. Haliburton has been incredible. This entire team has just been unbelievable to me.
I mean, can I throw out another name real quick? We pretty much said Benedict Mathurin was not playable the last time we recorded. Yeah. And again, respond. I'm not saying Benedict Mathurin listens to the Game Theory podcast. What I'm saying is I think most people would agree that it hadn't been a great performance of Benedict went for 20 tonight, Sam. 20.
In 12 minutes.
In 12 minutes. That's almost what the New York bench scored tonight. And that's with Josh Hart playing 36 minutes and getting 12 of their 21 bench points. Now, I will admit, you could see that whenever it was starting to go the wrong way for Benedict, they needed to get him out of the game. But to his credit, if you're not going to be great defensively and at times you're going to make bad decisions, at least go put the ball in the basket for 20 points in 12 minutes. And I think you'll take that if you're Indiana. So shout out Benedict Mathurin for responding as well.
100%. they don't need everybody to play well on any given night.
Sure.
Miles Turner is still struggling on defense with Karl Towns.
Oh, bad.
And only had 13 points, right?
Oh,
Andrew Nembhard had 3 points on 9 shots, and I thought had some moments as a passer for sure, and they used him creatively.
Sure.
Like if they
Short
felt like
roll
Haliburton was getting blitzed, they would short roll Nembhard as the screener and make it a little bit easier for them to kind of beat the Knicks from the inside out, get paint touches a little bit quicker. I thought Nesmith was awesome tonight, though.
I love that guy so much. He's becoming one of my favorite players in the league, Sam. Like I
agree.
It's getting to Toumani Camara level in terms of how I feel about Aaron Nesmith. And then like the injury and playing through it just makes it that much better, right? So
totally agree. And like the other guy that was sneaky pretty useful tonight, I thought Tony Bradley's minutes were fine.
I mean, good for Tony Bradley, Sam.
I thought that they were totally fine. Like they weren't like amazing. He played 10 minutes though and stemmed the tide, right? Like that's all he has to do. Do you know what they were in Tony Bradley's minutes tonight, Bryce?
Yeah, I do. And that's he does what they need him to do. They
won Tony Bradley's minutes tonight by 10 points.
Plus
and look, that's not going to happen all the time, but it was wildly impressive. I thought that he was out there battling and at least like made it work. Yeah, on the other side, look, you and I talked even after the success of game 3 and said that we do not like the starting lineup and that we did not think that this was a viable strategy for them against the Pacers. And lo and behold, it was not a viable strategy against the Pacers. They gave up 40 points in the first quarter.
And they almost got blown out to start the second half. Like, I don't know what I think they only ended up like a -1 in the minutes till they subbed Robinson out. I don't think like the number ends up that bad. They were on the brink of getting blown out to start the second half. Like Indiana just wasn't able to like hit the shots necessary, but they were just begging to get blown out. And then Mitchell Robinson finally went on like a 6-possession stretch where he grabbed some offensive rebounds and gave some impact. But I've been screaming this. I don't think he was ready to play 30 minutes. And what did he play? He played 29 Correct. And was it 29 and 29 back to back? No. Yeah. 29 and 29 back to back. And then in 19 minutes tonight, I don't feel like he had the same energy we had seen. And so I think they ran him short, and I don't know now. So
do you know what the defensive rating was tonight
with the two bigs?
Towns and Robinson on the court.
I mean, because it had been good, like 130.
142.9 defensive rating when Towns and Robinson were on the court together tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, just horrific. Like you can't win if your starting lineup is giving up, that combination is giving up 142.9 points per 100 possessions. If you look at, I'm going to pull up like the full series numbers here for those guys. I would imagine it's quite bad. Like I would imagine that it is not something that is going super, super well for them in the minutes defensively. So when those two are on the court together, Karl Towns and Mitchell Robinson, 118.2 defensive rating in this series.
Because the matchups don't make sense.
Against a 108.8 offensive rating. Like, it doesn't work.
So that's the argument, right? The argument was Josh Hart kills this 5-out spacing idea or whatever that Cat gives you. Like, my counter to that is Mitchell Robinson doesn't make that any better because Mitchell Robinson doesn't space the floor either. And the other thing is, it actually takes away the matchup that Cat has destroyed in this series. Yes. Like, Miles Turner has not been able to guard Karl-Anthony Towns, but when you have Mitchell Robinson on the court with him, you give somebody else for him to guard. I realize Cat can post up Siakam, but like from the eye test, Cat's best play type is top of the key shoot or top of the key attack Miles Turner off the bounce in a straight line. Yep. And then on the other end, you just are begging for Cat to get in foul trouble because he has to guard Pascal Siakam. The process doesn't make sense. If it was Deuce, even though I don't think like Deuce, I didn't feel like was very good tonight, like that at least makes a little more sense to me. But again, they played Josh Hart 36 minutes anyway. Like, I don't think Tibbs even believes in the starting. Like, I feel like they just changed the lineup because they felt like they were supposed to change the lineup because they were down 0-2.
That's right. And like, again, to me, the problem is with these lineups that you mitigate the entirety of what makes Mitch valuable.
Yeah.
Mitch is valuable as an energy guy coming off the bench.
Agreed.
Who demolishes second units to me. And if he's playing super well, you can close with him. I'm totally comfortable with that if you like the too big alignment in specific situations. But it is so, I think, damaging to the rest of their rotation to start those two together as well. So yeah, I don't like it. It's the easiest answer. Like, it doesn't make sense to me structurally.
I would switch. I would switch in game 5. Like, we talked about that we didn't love it after game 3, but are you really going to switch the starting? It's an elimination game the rest of the way. And so for elimination games, pull out what you, I'm not even saying going back to Josh Hart. Like, hell, start Landry Shamet if you think that Deuce, Josh, and Mitch are all better coming off the bench or something like that. I would not subscribe to that. But, like, try Deuce.
Start DeLon Wright. If you want,
sure,
that's your idea. Like,
you know what I mean. Like, if you think all of those guys are truly best coming off the bench as like these energy change up, whatever. If you think that's where Josh Hart is best for the New York Knicks and Deuce and Mitch, then pull one of these other guys out of the hat. But then again, Sam, you can't be rigid in that. Well, our starting lineup plays the first 6 minutes of both halves. No, let them play 3 minutes and then bring in that energy from whoever. So I'm interested to see if they do go to Deuce. I think Deuce would be either they go back to the starting lineup or they try another, iteration with Deuce being in there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, Jalen Brunson, again, 31 points, 5 assists. It felt like a night, though, just to be honest with you, where things were stagnant. Yeah. Like, they were a minus 16 when he was on the court tonight. I think that he probably overdid it a little bit in terms of just pounding the ball into the ground a little bit more consistently than what he has throughout the series. He was effective as an offensive player. He was efficient in some respect, like individually. I just don't know if it helped the Knicks all that much tonight, even though he scored 31.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I thought Cat had a really good stretch offensively too during the middle portions of the game. Brunson went cold for a while actually, and Cat kind of carried them. OG hit some shots again. Bridges hit some threes late until he missed all of the shots late. And I told you this before we recorded. This Pacers team does this to you. Like, this is the thing about whenever it's game, day off, there's no 2 games or anything like that. This team is going to wear you down because they are relentless in the way they play. I'm not surprised New York had a game like this, especially on the road, Sam. But you can't have this when you're down 2-1 after you gave up 2 at home, and specifically the game 1 that's where game 1 ends up really coming back to haunt you. Because I told you what I said was, if you win game 1 and have this letdown in game 4, you're going back 2-2 to New York, and you're like, hey, they stole 1, but we stole 1, 3-game series. We're going to be okay. But that was the thing about the way they gave up game 1 was your margin for error shrunk so much after that one, and you weren't able to give up a night like tonight where they just the transition defense was gross. It was so bad.
It was so bad. But it was bad in game 3. Early on.
So that's what's confusing to me, Sam. It was like I thought it started out okay. I thought game 1 it was decent until they, stopped guarding Aaron Naismith or whatever. It just progressed. This is where what the Pacers do is hard to defend consistently, and it works in a series type setting.
Yeah, no, I agree. Anything else here? Again, you brought up Towns. Like, I thought Towns was great, particularly in the second quarter run, to get them back to 51-51 after the Pacers had started to run out a little bit more. Towns 24-12, 3. I thought he was good tonight. I've Karl Towns innocent to me, like, for all of this. Look, he hasn't been like amazing on defense, but like I just have no real beef with him in the last 2 games. Bridges is just getting cooked defensively. It is a real issue here. It's hard, I think, especially when there are multiple bigs to attack. There's Brunson out there on the court. He constantly has to be aware of where screens are coming at him from. And it becomes really, really difficult, I think, for him to manage that in order to stay in front of Haliburton. I do think he has not defended Haliburton particularly well, but I also think the context is not helping him defensively.
Well, it is a lot, right? Like you think about like, okay, who am I switching with? Who's hard hedging? Who's, playing at the level? Like every one of those screens, depending on who Indiana brings to it, can be a little bit different. And then as you mentioned tonight, I can think of two off the top of my head where they set like, a late double drag and Haliburton got all the way to the rim. Like it just, the confusion. And we talked about this going back series with the Knicks. The communication is dreadful. Like it's just not
terrible.
I thought the top end baseline out of bounds 3 to seal the game. I thought it was the epitome of what tonight's game was for New York defensively. Like it's just like actually both of them, even the one before that where Josh Hart got backdoored by Siakam. Siakam got to the free throw line. And as much as I love Josh Hart, his off ball defense was brutal again tonight. Like he just gets ball watching way too much. So Indiana has been able to like kind of prey on what New York doesn't do well in terms of those switches, trying to hide Brunson and all those things. And we've talked about Rick Carlisle is a top what coach in the NBA?
3.
Okay. I was going to say 5 and I was like, surely I'm not crazy here. So
yeah, like I will hear out number 1 right now. Genuinely, I will hear out. If someone wants to make the case he's the best coach in the NBA right now, I'll hear it out.
Yep.
Like I'll hear out Spoelstra. I will hear out, I really like what Mark Daigneault has shown this year in the playoffs. Like I think Daigneault has been great. I think Mazzulla's scheme and system is super, super impressive. I think Ty Lue deserves.
I say Ty Lue's the name that comes up a lot.
A mention at least. Ime is a great defensive coach for sure. Like I'm a huge fan of what he's brought to the table defensively, at least. I mean, like Steve Kerr's like overall like motion scheme is super impressive to me, but I mean, like the way that Carlisle has just devised this thing in the way that it works. I mean, this is beautiful basketball. Like this is utterly beautiful basketball.
I enjoy it a lot. Again, like I could care less who wins this series and who wins each game. And I find fortune in having that mentality because I know what it's like when you're a fan and how much different that perspective is. I don't care about anything other than watching basketball, analyzing it, and then coming on here and talking to you about it. And this series has been awesome. And the Pacers, specifically throughout these playoffs, have been awesome to watch and talk about.
The more interesting conversation to me is like everyone, like Rick Carlisle's going to the Hall of Fame, right? Like this is happening. Like we know that at this point. Where do Kevin Pritchard and Chad Buchanan rank among front offices is a more interesting question to me.
So I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
Everything has worked.
Yeah.
Like everything they've done so far to build this core around Haliburton since they've gotten Tyrese, like it's all worked except for the Walker and potentially Mathurin.
I was going to say the only thing they've quote unquote, they're not strikeouts. The only things that are a little bit in question are the 2 high picks, right? In Mathurin and Walker. But I was going to bring that up in terms of this is the team. This is an organization where just the continuity between, okay, what the front office brings in, what the coaching staff wants to coach, how the players want to play, like, et cetera. It just seems very much in sync. And I give a lot of credit to the coaching staff and the front office in terms of being on the same page and being able to do that. And so I do think they get a lot of credit for the Haliburton trade and then everything else that came after that in terms of the players they were able to acquire to build it out around that.
Yeah, to me, like Presti, obviously, like that front office is in a class of its own and deservedly so at this point, given how they're set up. I mean, I kind of think you have to bring up the Pacers guys like in this next group of like what Zach Lyman has done in Memphis, I think is impressive. Like what Tim Connolly continues to build in Minnesota, I think is impressive. Like, I mean, you can go kind of around and, find, Brad Stevens and that group in Boston, I think are super impressive. Obviously what the Cavs have done is impressive with Kobe Altman. I'll hear out cases for, a lot of those guys. Like Miami obviously hasn't been great recently, but between Andy Ellisberg, Pat Riley, Adam Simon, like all those guys there, they do a great job. I think San Antonio has been to me like a little bit more hit or miss over the last 5 years. So I would probably go the Pacers over them right now. But I mean, that's the group. I think that the Pacers guys are in this next like second group just below Presti at this point.
Yeah. So you're talking what, 2 to 6, 7, something
2 to
like
6.
that. A group of, and then like you say, a top 3, top 5 at least at worst, I guess. Head coach. You got the player in Haliburton who's playing at that level right now. See, it's you called this more than me in terms of how dangerous they were in the playoffs, and you were right. And again, I think it's fun. I enjoy watching it, and I enjoy talking. Like I said, I enjoy talking about it and breaking down the things they do, the actions they run, and the pressure they put on the other team.
Yeah, I mean, look, like drilled Brogdon for Aaron Nesmith and, draft capital, basically. Drilled the Andrew Nembhard pick. Obviously, the Haliburton trade was spectacular. The Pascal Siakam trade, like we knew at the time that was a perfect deal, but like some people had questions about that. And I was like, absolutely not. This is a perfect fit with the up-tempo scheme that they want to run. Like there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Obi Toppin for a second-round pick. Like that's a huge win. Ben Shepherd, by the way, at like 26 or wherever they took him, that's a win to me.
Yep, sure.
Like he has been useful for them at this point. So yeah, I am so impressed. I'm so impressed with what they've been able to accomplish. And I think that, that front office deserves flowers that they don't always get. The guy that we brought up obviously is number 1 is Presti though. And we can transition now into the Oklahoma City Thunder. But before we do that, we got to shout out the friends over at Trade Coffee. Whether you're gearing up for back-to-back meetings, shuttling kids back and forth to and from activities, or you're setting up to do podcasts back to back to back to back, like Bryce and I have been doing over the last month, the morning is going to set the tone for everything. And that's why you have to start it with the perfect cup of coffee crafted just for you. And that's going to be Trade. Trade Coffee is the number 1 U.S. coffee destination, bringing you fresh coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Trade's experts have taste tested thousands of coffees to curate over 450 amazing roasts. Whether you're new to coffee, your favorites, or you're kind of looking to experiment a little bit, they're going to handpick the perfect coffee just for you. And they even do cold brew for those hot summer days that are coming up here in just about a month. Take their quiz, and in under a minute, they're going to match you with the perfect coffee. If your first bag isn't quite right, Trade is going to replace it for free until they nail it. Trade's prices are on par with grocery store brands, but the quality is next level. Plus, you're supporting local roasters. It's a win-win. Right now, Trade is exclusively offering our listeners 50% off your 1-month trial over at drinktrade.com. That's drink, D-R-I-N-K, trade, TRADE.com/game for 50% off your 1-month trial. Drinktrade.com/game. Okay, Bryce, let's talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves. So spectacular basketball game last night. Like truly one of my favorite games of the playoffs that we've gotten to see to this point. Oklahoma City wins 128-126. Another just like absolute masterclass from a superstar in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. A superstar performance from Jalen Williams. Like that, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Jalen Williams in this section because J-Dub is absolutely monstrous right now in this series. Chet was unbelievable last night, I thought. And this was almost like the game to me where that trio, that 3-player, big 3 that Oklahoma City is trying to build. This is the one where I think we're going to look back and be like, this was the game. This was the game where they grew up. And if they win the title this year, this was it. You could maybe say Denver game 4 as well. But I think that this one particularly stands out to me for all 3 of those guys just bringing it from the moment that this thing started. Jalen Williams and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I believe, I have the number here, they combined in the first quarter for 26 points. It was monstrous. I thought they were so good.
Yeah, and Shai finishes with 40 on 30 attempts, but also has 9 rebounds, 10 assists, does have 5 turnovers, which, again, just makes the Haliburton, the stat line that much more ridiculous.
Crazy.
Jalen Williams, 34 on 24 shots, hit 6 threes. Chet, 21 on 14 shots, hit 2 threes. And then, of course, especially with those latter two, the defensive impact that each of them brings in kind of different ways. The versatility of J-Dub in terms of the matchups he can take. Chet with his off-ball, rim protection. He had a huge one on Jaden McDaniels, I believe it was. Like, Jaden got downhill. Chet, I believe, even did he block? No, I don't think it was with his right hand, but got a block on that. End of the game was just awesome. Like, this was another one. I just wrote in my notes, like, how are you not having fun? The shot making was just incredible. I also want to shout out Cason Wallace. So late in the third quarter, the Wolves tied the game, and there was a timeout. OKC had to call a timeout. And Cason came up with some huge plays. He got an offensive rebound, made an off-ball cut off an offensive rebound. Then he helped force a shot clock violation. Then he stole a post-entry pass after Minnesota had got an offensive rebound. It's just like him and Caruso are always making those little game-winning, game momentum-changing plays. So we need to talk about the stars, but I wanted to make sure I got those little things in for Caruso and Wallace as well.
So if you remember, the thing that I brought up going into game 4 was, some people were like, this is a big legacy game for Shai. Like, this is the one where he needs to show up and, be the guy. And Shai did that. Like, I don't want to take anything away from Shai. 100%. Shai was like the dude in this game. What him and Jalen did, unbelievable. I said that I thought this was more the Daigneault game.
Yeah.
Where we're going to figure out what Mark Daigneault is and what he can do to adjust to a coach who adjusted to him in game 3, and they figured out how to slow down what the Thunder were doing. How do you adjust offensively and make it work? Well, you drop 128 points. How do you do it? So first, I want to say, I didn't love what Minnesota did in this game defensively. I thought that they were a little bit too prone to soft switching and giving up mismatches to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander particularly. Now, early on, they ran a lot of empty side actions to where I think that they felt like they kind of had to soft switch and make it so that Randall and Jaden McDaniels were just switching and, defending their man and trying to keep Shai out of the lane more than anything. But as the game went on, what they started to just relentlessly hammer was they set screens below the 3-point line. They changed the level of the screen to where, okay, we went super high in games 1 and 2. We set crazy high screens 40 feet away from the rim. In order to get Shai downhill, we know that you're fighting over the top of screens. We know that you're trying to get around screens in a real way. Let's just make it so it's a one-on-one, Shai coming downhill at Rudy Gobert, right? Okay, Minnesota adjusting game 3. They say, you know what? We're going to pick up later here. We're going to pick you up 25 feet from the rim instead of 35 feet from the rim. Go under all actions. Make you a pull-up shooter. Okay, cool. Sounds good. How do you adjust in game 4? You set screens below the 3-point line so that if you go under those screens, it's really a wide open shot.
Yeah.
You can't go under those screens. And if you go under those screens, the end result is that Gobert is probably getting strung out in a significant way into switches. And to me, because Hartenstein was amazing as a screener in this game. He was unbelievable as a screener. He just caught Jaden every single time. And Ant, by the way, too. Caught him every single time in screens. And B, that forces Gobert out. And then Shea was able to just string him out, force that to be his matchup. And he was able to attack Gobert one-on-one. And people can say that like Rudy is not a disaster defensively or whatever in playoff series is. If he's one-on-one against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I'm taking my chances, guys.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And I think that setting more step-ups, right at the three-point line, setting screens below the three-point line. Kenrich Williams as well was amazing as a screener in this game, I thought. That, to me, was the tactical adjustment that made this capable of, or made Oklahoma City's offense get going. Because the other thing that does is that when Minnesota plays off of like same-side shooters, right? In order to kind of clog up that mid-range area and make it a little bit more difficult for Shea. If you set the screen at that level, that low, and those guys help in order to help, they're helping lower on the court. And it's just such an easy pass for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to make those reads. I believe that 9 of his 10 assists in this game, I counted 9 out of 10 were for 3-pointers.
Wow.
And that's a backbreaker, guys. It just is. Like, I loved what Mark Daigneault did in this game. I think he deserves so much credit for how he adjusted to get Shea into position to be able to thrive in the way that he did.
Well, and what that also does is anytime you can cause indecision on the either person that's involved in the ball screen action defensively, right? So this is why you'll see, big guys run up and then quickly switch sides of the screen, right? Because now the guy that's navigating thinks he's going to navigate this way, and then all of a sudden the screen is that way, and now he's a little off balance. Or you get the big man on the wrong side of the screen or whatever. That's what lowering the screen does as well, because Jaden McDaniels went into this game going, okay, I'm going to go under these screens. Well, all of a sudden the first one comes and he starts to go under, and then he realizes, oh shit, I'm already below the 3-point line. I can't go under this screen. Now he's trying to go over, and then he runs right into it, right? And so it just causes real incision for the guy trying to navigate that screen. So we talked about it, right? What was the answer going to be? Because Minnesota tapped in something for one game that seemed to throw SGA and the Thunder off, and they were able to cover. I also want to give SGA, because the one thing I don't want to like the foul merchant, ethical, whatever stuff. Like I don't even like talking about it in general. But the part that really kind of frustrates me sometimes is like, this dude is so skilled, Sam. And I don't think that he always gets credit, because everybody's just like, oh, he's flopping and he's getting to the free throw line. Like the best way I can say it, his practical athleticism is unbelievable. Like, I don't know what his combine measurements are. I don't know what he would look like if he was in a gym with Anthony Edwards and Min Thompson and, Ja Morant, and they had a dunk contest. But what I do know is his balance, his contact balance, his burst, his change of pace, his ground coverage on his step back. Like, he bumped Rudy Gobert 5 feet back on a drive in the first half. And then not only did that, but was then on balance to finish the shot. So, like, I don't care about all the other stuff. I enjoy watching SGA play because he has sick footwork and he has sick practical athleticism that is really fun.
The other guy we have to talk about in terms of practical athleticism
Sure.
is Jalen Williams.
Yeah.
I thought he was unbelievable. That dude hit so many back-breaking jumpers in
Yeah.
that game.
Yeah.
Just absolute, like, crushers. Same with Chet, by the way. Chet hit a ton of just like, oh my God, Minnesota's on this run right now. They need an absolute, like, run stopper in some way, shape, or form. Chet 3, 2 Chet drives, I think in the second or third quarter. I can't remember. It was unbelievable. I thought he was so good in this game. But J-Dub is the one for me, because there's been a lot of shit about J-Dub throughout the playoffs. Really the Denver series, right? Like the Denver series is the one.
Yep.
J-Dub in this series, 23 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 49, 50, 85 with 2.5 steals a game. He's been dominant. He's been utterly dominant in this series through 4 games. I adore everything that he's done.
What one of our favorite comments when we previewed this series was that this series, we had a commenter tell us that this series would come down to who versus who.
J-Dub versus Randall.
J-Dub versus Randall. You just gave J-Dub stats. Julius Randle, and this is with a insane first half in game 1, is averaging 16 points on 46, 41, 88. So good numbers, good percentages, but he's only getting 11.5 attempts a game up, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 3.5 turnovers. You know who guards Julius Randle a lot of times throughout a game? Jalen Williams. He is winning. He is maybe dominating that matchups since the first half of game 1. And it's really him being able to guard Julius Randle really disrupts some of the stuff that Minnesota can do to teams. Like I put in here, Randall Gobert ball screen action is fun, but it's not as effective because J-Dub just blows it up. And then I'll actually give credit to the broadcast. They brought up a great point. A Julius Randle, Naz Reid frontcourt probably gives a lot of teams fits, Sam. When you think about like the matchups there,
yeah.
You know what the Thunder do? We'll put Alex freaking Caruso and Jalen Williams on those two guys and still have Chet Holmgren on the weak side to come over and help. It's just his versatility is incredible. He's been awesome, and when he's making shots, he's he's a really good two-way player, right? It's just one of the better ones, and he's been awesome in this series. Good for him.
Has been arguably one of the best two-way players in the NBA now for a year. He's been an absolute monster overall in the playoffs, by the way, like even throwing in the Denver series where it was more up and down than anything, but like game 7, he was great. He was great in game 3 in that series too, but like was not awesome throughout the course of the Denver series. I think it's fair to say 20.5 points, 5.6 rebounds, 5.3 assists versus only 1.5 turnovers, 2.5 stocks per game at 46, 32, 77 so far. So like good numbers, not like incredible, but really good numbers.
Make threes, right? Like, and like we know there's shooting variance in some of that stuff, but really like that's the only number that stands out in a, negative way. And, like I think J-Dub is usually going to be a better than 32% 3-point shooter, like for his career in the regular season, he's at 38%. Last year in the playoffs over 10 games, he shot 39% from 3. So like he makes a few more threes and this looks really, really good. He's averaging 22 a game or something like that. Like that trio has to be scary for the league. Like if they really figure this out, if they go on and win this thing, and like it's just such a really smart trio of 3 guys and how they complement each other.
Well, to me, like the rest of the league better like pray that all 3 of those guys make all NBA next year.
Oh,
because if they can have
the cost
Chet and they can have Chet and Jalen on a 25% max as the salary cap is rising throughout the next like 6 years, it's going to be really hard. It's just going to be really hard to deal with them. Like because they'll be able to keep a lot of the guys that they have is the thing. If both of those guys are making all NBA or something next year, if Jalen makes all NBA, because I'm sure he's going to get the language in his contract given he made all NBA this season, frankly. It doesn't matter that he made it this year. It has to be next year. It has to be 2 out of 3, basically. If he makes all NBA next year, it's a huge problem. Like it is a massive, massive problem to me. And Chet, like we'll see where his offensive game goes. I thought this was awesome from Chet. Took so many awesome, attacks closeouts, gets to the rim, made some shots like from distance. Like it was just like the perfect Chet. You know what? I'm like the third guy here offensively, but I'm going to take advantage of what I need to.
And I thought they tapped into a nice little middle of the floor ball screen with him and Shea. And like he would pick and pop off of it at times. He would slip. He would ghost. He would just leave early. Like they highlighted one where he just left early and SGA got downhill. But then the other thing he can do is he can attack the closeout off the pick and pop. And we saw him do that a couple times as well. So that was a nice action. The other thing I want to bring up, and this is like something we've talked about going into the playoffs with multiple teams, that, hey, this roster versatility and all of that is really good thing. Dagnall continues to seemingly push the right buttons. Cason Wallace played 28 minutes tonight. I thought he was very impactful. Obviously, Caruso's minutes. You brought up Kenrich Williams. He played 12. Who didn't play tonight was Monday night. Aaron Wiggins, wasn't in the rotation. And Dagnall has not seemed, nervous or unwilling to just pull those strings whenever he felt like talk about not being rigid and being fluid in decision making. And, he only played Hartenstein 16 minutes. I thought he was a little off in some other areas, even if his ball screening was really good. And Dagnall just seems, whether it's him, his staff altogether, whatever it is, they seem to have a really good pulse on the flow of a game and who needs to stay in, who doesn't. And he'll pull the plug on guys quick. Like I brought it up with Kenrich. He played 3 minutes, I think it was, in game 3, and then he was out of there. And then tonight, sorry, it was game 2. We played 2 minutes. On Monday night, looked a little better, knocked down some jump shots, played 12. So I like how he handles those things.
Yeah, completely agree. Sneakily, it is interesting to me that the Chet Hartenstein combo has not been incredible in the playoffs, right? They're only a plus 2.8 when Hartenstein is out there with Chet together. When Chet is out there without Hartenstein, they're a plus 18 in the playoffs right now. When Hartenstein is out there without Chet, they're a plus 6.33. If you look at the playoffs right now, in terms of the Chet Hartenstein combo, this series, they're a plus 5.7 when Hartenstein and Chet are out there together, largely because, I think a lot of those minutes didn't come in game 3, which was the crazy, crazy blowout. I think one of them got in foul trouble, if memory serves. But that's the key to me, is the Hartenstein signing was fantastic. It was super smart for the Denver series. Always and forever is that an intelligent move. But where this is going long term is the Chet at the 5 lineups are going to demolish worlds. It's going to be impossible to deal with them as long as he stays healthy. You look at the way that Miles Turner impacts the game for Indiana, for instance.
Yeah.
Just with his ability to step out and shoot and really protect the rim. Chet's a different, all due respect to Turner, who I love and who I think has been way grossly underrated for years upon years now. Chet is a different deal. Chet's going to make all NBA teams. Yeah. They're a plus 18 in the playoffs in 250 minutes when Chet is out there at the 5 without Hartenstein. That's a crazy number. That's absolutely an insane number, given that they're playing real teams in the playoffs. They're going to be hard to deal with. They're going to be really, really hard to deal with moving forward. And that's why they're up 3-1 in this series. They're going home. That place is going to be rocking. Loud City is going to be losing its mind trying to get to the NBA championship in the NBA finals. It's going to be such a cool environment, such a cool vibe. I could not be more excited to see that thing tomorrow night. And this is where we're at. This is Oklahoma City is positioned to make the finals like most 68 win teams do.
I mean, that's what, I know it's not great analysis, but I feel like people are well, what is OKC doing right? Or what does Minnesota need to do different? Or how are I'm they're the better team. I thought they were the better team going, honestly, Sam, into the regular season. It's just they looked like a good team. They got better in the offseason with the moves they made. These guys were going to be a year older. They went through a playoff run last year and kind of learned about it. I understand why there was some questions, but I understand if people weren't for sure about it. I don't understand people being surprised that this is what we're getting from Oklahoma City. Nothing about any of this surprises me. And maybe that's just because I'm not trying to take credit away from them. I'm just this is who I thought they were. I thought they were a damn good basketball team that had as good a chance, if not better, any individual team of making it and winning the NBA Finals. So I'm not surprised they're up 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals right now. I'm just not.
it weirdly felt like the upset pick for me to say that I thought Oklahoma City was going to win the title coming into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And like, here we are. I had them. I can't remember if I picked them or Boston in the preseason. I think I might have picked Boston in the preseason, but I had them in the finals in the preseason. And I know I had them winning the title in the at the start of the playoffs, just because I like their versatility. I didn't like the way Boston was kind of injured coming in. And yeah, like it was weird, the lack of respect that people gave this team.
Even after the regular, when I want to feel good about myself, I go back and look at my our season prediction episode sheet and what I predicted for the Thunder, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I predicted a little bit of that. So, but I actually think I think I picked the Celtics to win the championship still. But I thought OKC was going to be the best regular season team.
Okay. Let's go over to the NBA draft now.
Okay.
Just a few things that we want to clear up here. Yaxel Lendeborg, Alex Condon, Mackenzie Mbako. Who else? One other one.
Uzan.
Milos Uzan.
Uzan.
All going back to college. Any of those decisions surprise you in any way, shape, or form?
Most surprising was Yaxel, just because I had him highest on my board, but in general, no.
So, yeah. I kind of told you I thought there was a chance Uzan would stay in, just because I'd kind of been told that there was a chance he would stay in, basically. Like he really wanted to kind of go through the process and see where it would sit. He went through some workouts, decided to go back. Totally makes sense. It felt like a 50-50 decision the whole way. Lendeborg, I mean, look, like there's a reason we didn't draft him on the last mock draft that we did.
Sure, that's fair. Yeah.
And there's a reason that, I've been pretty clear that I felt like he was going back. I feel like I've said that on the show, that I felt like there was a good shot he was going back. My understanding is that he is making so much money to where like it is really hard for him to not go to Michigan unless he got a first round guarantee.
So that's where that's probably where I shouldn't be surprised. Is I would not be surprised at the number he's getting. I don't know what the number at Michigan is. I literally have no idea. Like, we haven't talked about this. I haven't heard from other people. I assume the number is something silly. So
yeah, look, I don't think it's out there. I've been told it from like some people that are not firsthand the situation. So I'm not going to share what the number I've been told is, but like the number I've been told is like extremely high and will make him among the highest paid players in college basketball next season.
I can see that.
So knowing that, I was under the impression that he was likely to stay at Michigan next year.
Yeah.
Even after going through the draft process. And look, like my impression is that like teams that saw him at the combine, like they like the measurements, obviously, like he was enormous. They came away like a little, like having some questions, I would say. Having a few more questions maybe than what they thought going in. So makes total sense. I think he's going to be amazing at Michigan. I think he's going to be incredible in that scheme. Him and like Merez Johnson next year is going to be such a monster front court for opposing teams to deal with. Plus, I believe they have a Damara as well. So like that trio is going to be ridiculous. Elliot Cadeau will be there to kind of run the show at point guard. He'll get all of those guys the ball at least. Like I feel very comfortable saying that. So it's going to be a fantastic team, which sucks for the person who went to Ohio State and is wearing this hat on this stream. But I think Dusty May is a joke. Like, I think he's so good. I would expect Yaxel to enter next season. He'll be a first rounder for me entering the season next year. And, I would have had him as a first rounder this year. Certainly I would have had him somewhere in the 20s for sure, entering the draft cycle this year. If he had gone through with it, I would expect he's going to have a monster year next year.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I always come back to whenever we see some of this stuff is like college basketball is going to be so much fun next year. We have a really exciting incoming freshman class, and then you have some of these names going back that are still going to be a part of college hoops, and it's just like it's going to be a lot of fun. So, it makes it a little bit interesting for the draft in the second round. We've talked about this for a while now, but in terms of college basketball and the product and the talent that we'll see there. This is good for them as we see some of these names go back. The other ones, I mean, two for like McKenzie, like I'm happy for McKenzie that he rose during the pre-draft cycle. But like, I was just like, man, it's going to take a hell of a run for him to actually stay in. It seemed like I was never as high on Condon as what like some mocks and big boards out there were. I think he's interesting. I think he probably needs to shoot it.
Let's stop on Condon real quick, just
Sure.
because I'm pretty. I know what's going on.
Yeah.
There was just never a point where I think I talked to one team throughout the process that had a first round grade on him, and that was really it. And most of the teams thought he was like probably worth a guaranteed contract, like a flyer worth taking. But this is an incredibly deep draft with bigs.
Sure.
Like you look through it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got, let's see here, Jan Berenjay, who I've been pretty clear with people, I think is going higher than what like most people think. You've got Essen Gay, who I think is a big, not a wing. You've got Ryan Kalkbrenner. You've got Asa Newell. You've got Maxime Reynaud. You've got Rasheer Fleming, who I think of as a big, not a wing. You've got Janai Broom. You've got Niederhauser, whose decision we haven't gotten yet.
Yep.
And maybe he decides to go back, but he's one I'm kind of anticipating kind of decides to just be like, hey, is it going to get better for me than where I am right now? You've got Markovich from Mega, Bobby, or what is it? Bogey is what he goes by. Bogey Markovich. You've got Hansen Yang. You've got Rocco Zakarski. You've got Vlad Golden. You've got Lockie Ulbrich, who is like a forward wing kind of guy. And did I mention Broom as well? So like that's a deep group. And like I did the Vlad Golden draft guide profile last night. I kind of think Vlad Golden's like kind of good, honestly. I'm not saying like I'm going to have him in the top 40 or anything, but like I think that this is probably like a top 50 guy that has a real shot to be a backup big in the NBA. So
yeah, go ahead.
You look through all of these things and like, I just think there's no way that the draft next year is as deep as it is this year in terms of bigs being available. Like it'd be fairly staggering to me.
Yeah, just real quick on Golden. I have that as well in terms of my like solid big. I have him like as a high level third center, but like that's for someone who thinks that every team needs a third center, right? Like that's not a throwaway roster spot or position. It's like every team needs a third center because that guy's going to end up playing in 40 games and how many ever minutes because injuries happen and foul trouble happens and stuff like that. And so if I think he's a high level third big, that's not a knock on him. That's like, hey, we definitely take this in the second round and put him on our roster. So I'm with you on Golden.
And here's the other thing too. Like Condon did not have a great NCAA tournament. Like they won the title kind of in spite of him a little bit. Like he was their fourth or fifth best player in the tournament run. And he's a really interesting player. Like I really want him to have success. I want all of the Australian kids to have success because I love just the culture and vibe over here. I think that it's such an interesting way to develop kids, the way they go about it here. And he is like just a really, really like skilled with his footwork, player. Like there's a lot of interesting things that he brings to the table that could be developed, but like he's nowhere near the mark as a shooter yet. He's just not. He is somebody who Florida, I think, did a really good job of utilizing within their offense.
Yep.
With the way that they use handoffs and reject handoffs and things like that for him to be able to kind of get into positive positions. I think that he needs to get stronger. I think he needs to work on his defense. I think that there are just like a few different things to work through on this.
Yeah, I'm with like, and he plays extremely hard. Like that dude plays so hard, and the passing skill is really really intriguing. I found myself going, what does an NBA team like? How what is the sell there, especially offensively? Like how does Condon score at the NBA level right now? And then again, I think that like adding some muscle and weight to his frame would make him even more impactful on the defensive end. And what does that look like? So I thought another year would do him well. And again, talk about a team that could be is gonna be loaded next year. That Florida team's gonna be a lot of fun.
Going to be an absolute joke. They get all of Hauk, who again, I think you and I have talked about this. Like I have a better draft grade on Hauk than I do Condon long term. I think that dude's going to be awesome.
Yep.
Ruben Chinyelu, who is enormous and is like a useful big. Micah Handlockton in the front court. That's the best front court in the country, just point blank. Like we just talked about Michigan, like it's them, it's Michigan, maybe Texas Tech with JT Toppin going back. Like very few front courts are going to be able to match them. Maybe Duke with Boozer. Like I'll hear out a few different cases.
But like depth wise, with they got 4 guys with those 4.
Correct. They have 4 guys that are like starter level at the high major
all 4
level.
were in the program last year. Like they bring guys back that have been in the program.
Yeah, totally agree. So then you also bring in Boogie Fland.
Yep.
Like
Xavier
this team's
Lee.
going to be Xavier Lee.
And then we don't have an answer on Henschel yet, right?
Henschel, it seems like unclear. Let's go with. So the reason Henschel gets connected with Florida is Ben Henschel and Alex Condon are quite close. They're very very close. So I think it's down to a couple of schools there. I would expect Henschel will make a decision there. At some point in the next couple of weeks. Is my read.
I saw the Texas Tech. So Henschel tweeted out the eye emojis, and I think it was after Condon's announcement. And then I saw the Texas Tech crowd was in his comment, just like, just really.
Is it public that it's Texas Tech? Because Texas Tech's the other school I've gotten for him.
So I don't know. Like, I just know that Texas Tech was like, their crowd was like just flooding the comments, like, come here, we'll love you so much. Like that. I respected the Red Raider crowd, just like going in, like trying to recruit him via Twitter.
Yeah. So it seems like to me it's either going to be Texas Tech or Florida, and maybe the draft, like who knows, he is a little bit longer than most kids do because he's an international right now and then could theoretically go the college route if he wants to. So a little bit longer to kind of play around with this. Florida should be quite good. I really like CJ Ingram coming in as like a defensive, really, really, really good player on the defensive end, particularly. I would expect Florida will be a top 3 team entering like college basketball next season. I think that they are better than Houston entering next season, and that's where we can go next. Milos Uzan is going back to Houston. I would have them a little bit higher than Houston just because of the continuity and the fact that I think Boogie Fland is awesome. Like as a college player, I think that he will probably have a better year than Uzan next year, frankly. And this doesn't, like, I don't say that lightly. Like Milos Uzan, if you look at any of the on-off numbers, the 2 guys that drove winning for Houston last year were JoJo Tugler and Milos Uzan, just point blank. When Uzan was on the court last year, like their offensive rating spiked by like 12 or 13 points per 100 possessions, according to CBB analytics. Like it was drastic how much better they were on offense because he was so good at running the show for them. Give him another year in that offense, I would expect it's only going to be better. I would certainly have them in the top 5 or 6 teams. I'm not sitting here saying that Houston is not going to be incredible. Kellen Sampson, that entire staff does such an amazing job of getting these guys ready. I think that I just have a few more questions about their incoming freshmen than what some people do. I would certainly say, though, that they're going to be an incredibly successful team that will almost certainly, they might not almost certainly win the Big 12, but they should be favored to win the Big 12 heading into next year.
Yeah, no, they'll be really good, especially like, obviously we talked a lot this year about JoJo Tugler and what we think about him as a defensive player. And then you talked about Uzan there as well. So
Yeah. The other guy here, Cedric Coward, obviously announced on Sunday that he is going to Duke, or not going to Duke. I'm sorry, that he is going to stay in the draft and not go to Duke. Again, like things that we've talked about on this show for a while. Coward was there. It was always going to be really hard for him to end up at Duke, just because of the money involved, or not the money involved, the draft stock involved. I'm sorry. He was always just going to rise. Like the minute I saw him work out in LA, I was like, there's just no chance this person is not a first round pick.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you just see it with your own eyes and you just go, absolutely not. Like this guy is going in the first round. He was awesome.
Yep. No, that was not surprising to me. Like you say, we've been talking about it for a while now. I think we both very solidly have him in our top 20, and I feel like that's roughly kind of when you get into the top 20, that's when you can feel pretty good about being a first round pick and staying in.
Yeah.
So was not surprised by that announcement at all.
The only question for me is whether or not he ends up in my top 10. Like he's going to be close to it. It's just, where is it? Like, I'm just going to bet on him. Huge, long wingspan. It's just easy to bet on these kids that can shoot and have long arms. Like that's what makes it easy. And he plays hard on defense. Like there are defensive deficiencies that he's going to have to work through for sure, but he plays hard. He's super long. I think the athleticism is really improving. Like having seen where he was athletically compared to like the tape of where he was earlier in the year, I thought he looked more athletic when I saw him. Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of an easy bet to make.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm with you.
Yeah, so I'm interested to watch him. And then that's basically all we've gotten so far. Tomorrow we're going to get the full kind of rundown. I believe tomorrow is the deadline, correct?
Yeah, the 28th. Carter Knox was another one that came out. Like,
yeah, good one.
And like PJ Haggerty, I don't know like how real that was. Like I think the PJ Haggerty one means more for the fact that like then he committed to Kansas State, and I think PJ Haggerty is like a player that like he had a really good year at Memphis in terms of like just scoring the basketball and all of that. So those were a couple other names I feel like that had dropped since maybe the last time we recorded.
PJ Haggerty is a good one. I mean, that kid just, I mean, I don't know. You don't want to like hammer a kid for not making great decisions, but like that kid almost certainly should have just been, all right, we're going to go to the combine. We're going to college 100%. Like, let's make sure we've got a location locked in before the combine, right? Like Lendeborg did. If they had done that, he would have made a crazy amount of money. Is maybe the best point guard on the market at that point, because Fland had still not portaled yet whenever Haggerty had hit the portal. So yeah, to me, maybe not the best handled situation. I'm not a huge fan of the Kansas State just like program in general. Like I just don't love the schemes that they run. I don't love, there's some things that I don't love there about the way that they handle things. So we'll see. He's good enough to where like he's just so good on the ball and so creative as like a one-on-one playmaker that he'll probably be able to exceed it if someone is going to. Yep. And then finally you said Carter Knox. I mean, look, man, like I've just kind of assumed throughout the process that Adu Tiero is in the draft, right? Like I don't know that's not me reporting anything for sure. I don't have any information on Adu Tiero. But if he was to like surprise and say, I'm staying in school at Arkansas again next year, and it would be Arkansas, didn't portal, his dad played for Coach Calipari, like Cal guys through and through, right? Like if he stayed, man, and they got Carter Knox and him, that team would be super fun next year. Like they were really good by the end of the year last year.
Oh, they got the big kid from Florida State too. That kid's good.
Yeah, Malik Ewan. Believe they got I mean, like, look, they have like DJ Wagner coming back, but more than that, they have Darius Acuff coming in to
Acuff.
run the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that'll be good. Malik Thomas is there too. Malik is a guy that I think is probably going to take a year, honestly, just in terms of like shot selection and things like that, but a very skilled player. Shout out the Pittsburgh Pipeline again, coming through for Cal. Malik Thomas, Adu Tiero. We love you guys. I'm going to be like rooting for Arkansas next year.
Love it.
Is where this is. The Pittsburgh Pipeline to Arkansas is apparently real now. We gotta respect our people here. So yeah, I mean, look, if Tiero just randomly decides to come back, man, like that's probably a top 10 team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. Sounds like it.
You'd be looking at Acuff and DJ Wagner in the backcourt. You'd have Tiero, Carter Knox, Billy Richmond, who I thought like showed some signs by the end of the year last year.
Yep.
Like Trevon Brazil, Malik Ewan, like Malik Thomas as well. Like that's a monster. Like athletic, like that team will be really hard to score on, I think.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Okay. Last question here for you from Ron Burgundy 79. We've seen the importance of screen navigation in the playoffs. Who are the best players in this year's draft at navigating screens as a point of attack defender? Bryce, do you have any thoughts here? Anyone who like stands out immediately?
No, I will have to go through my notes though.
I'm looking through my list as we kind of talk through this a little bit. I mean, VJ is pretty good at it. I would say VJ is pretty good. I don't know that there are like a ton of great ones, honestly. Drake Powell, I thought was pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's a good name.
Sion James, I thought was pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Tiero's tape defensively is just really good in general. He's just like so active and aggressive.
I still think Jace navigates screens well defensively.
He does, but like he's just very thin. Because like part of it is, can you navigate, get back in front, and then like wall up, right?
That's
like
fair.
You need the strength to like be able to do all three. I think he, like the actual action of navigating and like getting around the screen, I think Jace is pretty good at that.
Yeah.
I don't think he like provides the resistance when he's like kind of getting back in front and like trying to like stop somebody from getting in front of him. Like I would argue, even though LeBaron Philon is about like the same weight.
I was about to say Philon for this as well.
He actually is 3 pounds lighter than Jace. I actually think Philon is like a little bit more like wiry, strong than Jace is at that. But even he, you know, can struggle with that stuff from time to time too. I didn't feel like this was like a great screen navigation class, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like because there's a couple guys, like I think Traore, I feel like my notes are better off the ball with rotations and then the on ball. I had that on somebody else as well. Yeah, I was looking at like some of the second round guys like Proctor, Shulga, those guys, and what about Elijah Martin?
Elijah Martin's a really good name. Elijah Martin is very good at it, I would argue. I mean, the other guy that like I think will be really good at this is Carter Bryant.
Sure.
I think that he was a little bit more hit or miss at it this year, just being as young as he is. But given how good he is away from the ball or on the ball, particularly defensively, and how he communicates and how he talks through things, I would expect he will be quite good at this at some point.
Micah PV.
PV was pretty good. Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, a real deep, like I think Keyshawn Gilbert's a really good defender. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Really good name.
He's really solid on that end of the floor.
Yeah. No, I like the Keyshawn Gilbert call. He is like a non-zero chance to end up in my top 60.
Listen, I mean, if Keyshawn really shot it, he would be really, really intriguing because like that kid plays hard as hell and can really defend and I've seen him really, really pressure the paint in time at Iowa State. It's just the jumper and the turnovers are like a real question for him, but he flat out gets after it. Like I would take Keyshawn Gilbert as part of my organization, even if that means he's just like playing for my G League team and kind of running the show down there and, ends up on a two-way or something. But I like Keyshawn Gilbert.
Yeah, it's just hard to kind of find dudes. I think Shulga was actually pretty good at it too.
Yeah, he was an interesting name.
Yeah. Okay. That's actually all we got tonight. We're going a little bit shorter. We're gonna go like an hour 15. Again, feel like that's been the good like length for these, post game ones is, right around 20 minutes on each game and then some draft stuff. That feels like the way to go about it.
And the peek behind the curtain is we recorded for almost 2 hours yesterday, even though it wasn't live, and we'll record for almost 2 hours tomorrow, even though it won't go live, to continue to bring the off-season preview series, which I don't know about you, I've gotten a ton of really positive feedback about, though.
Yeah.
So it's making it worth it for sure.
We really appreciate you guys reaching out and giving us that like really positive feedback on this. Obviously something different that we haven't done before. You guys are definitely listening to them, which is amazing. We appreciate you guys so much for coming to hang out, listen to those things, having a fun time consuming those as well. Tomorrow, I believe I can look on the back end. I think Andrew has it set up already. Shout out GMAC for dealing with all this. It is Bryce Simon's Detroit Pistons.
There we go.
Is the next one actually. He is on one in that one, if I remember correctly. I think you were quite good in that one.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Somebody David Aldridge, you're our guy, shout out American University, the claim to fame, showed the halftime show. Cause I know you tweeted out about the dog the other day, and this lady is like balancing bowls while she's
This is amazing, Bryce.
On a unicycle?
The fact that you are like unfamiliar with Red Panda is like a little bit startling to me.
Oh, is this somebody?
Yes. Like a halftime legend of like basketball games. Like she does the circuit like year round, basically. Red Panda is a thing.
Oh,
for sure.
Good for her. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't watch.
Like I think if they were if they were inducting like Hall of Fame halftime show performers, Red Panda would be like the first one inducted, I would guess.
Good to know.
Yeah. An icon.
Not my thing. We watched, have you seen Sirens? I don't know if it's Netflix or...
I have not seen Sirens yet. I'm aware of what it is.
Yeah.
Do you recommend it?
Not yet. Let me finish it.
Okay.
Not yet. So like after episode 1, we were like kind of boring. Do we want to just go to bed? And then Randy was like, let's give it one more episode. And it like hooked me just enough that after 3 episodes, I was like, we have to finish it. Like I'm a little nervous they don't pull it together, and I'm going to be pissed that I wasted 5 hours of my life watching it. But there's like a non-zero chance they pull it together. And I'm like, that was really sweet. So I'll let you know once I find 2 more hours to finish it.
Interesting. I love that. Look, the 2 movies that I watched this week, or going into last week, I guess, over the course of the last week, maybe is the way to put it. I watched Pulp Fiction just because like I need, while I'm doing draft guide stuff, I just need like the easiest thing like that I've seen a bunch of times, basically. If I want to put on a movie, like it just has to be that. And I bought like the 30th anniversary Pulp Fiction. Let's see it. Yeah. Shout out the 30th anniversary Pulp Fiction Blu-ray, 4K actually. Nice. See, in 4K it was glorious. Always 4K. And then I also watched A Knight's Tale. Have you ever seen A Knight's Tale, Bryce?
I actually think so.
Yes. The Heath Ledger one.
Yes.
Yeah, where he is like jousting. Yeah.
Yep. I've seen that one. I haven't seen I haven't seen Pulp Fiction, but I've seen A Knight's Tale.
I don't know if you would like Pulp Fiction, honestly.
It doesn't sound like me. A Knight's Tale is awesome. I love this movie.
I also love this movie. It's probably one of the like 5 movies in my life that I have seen more often than like any other movie in my life. I find it like incredibly rewatchable. I was just like smiling the entirety of the next day. I wrote like 5 draft guide profiles the next day. I was like rocked. Like I was loving life after watching A Knight's Tale. It's so silly. It starts with like medieval peasants like doing like "We Will Rock You" in the stands. It's amazing. And then yeah, I've realized the other thing is too, so you know, the last 2 books I've read, right? So one of them is The Plantagenets, which is back here, which is like the kings of that time, basically. And reading about them and like how they like cultivated the medieval England and everything. And then I'm reading a book on like Shakespeare and whether or not he was a fraud, basically. Not a fraud, but like whether or not the like Shakespeare actually wrote the plays that are attributed to Shakespeare. And I think that what I'm recognizing is that the movie A Knight's Tale is why I have this like incredible interest in medieval like England and the kings and like the Tudors and like everything like that. Basically, like that movie primed me when I was like 10 years old or whatever to become incredibly interested in all of that.
Love it. Nice.
Yeah. So shout out to this. And yes, like I am not a conspiracy theory guy, like in any way, shape, or form. Like could not be a conspiracy theory guy at all. The Shakespeare one is interesting to me. I will say that.
It's in my podcast. You can't see it. It's in my podcast queue. Literally, the podcast is called Conspiracy Theories, and I just like listening to people's thoughts. Most of them, they're like, "Yeah, this isn't true," but it's like I still like listening to what people think might be true. I don't know why.
Yeah, like I don't need to dive into the Shakespeare one in terms of why I have some thoughts on that one at least.
I love it. The only
by the way,
conspiracy we don't believe in is the NBA draft being rigged.
Yeah. By the way, like another movies thing as to why like I even knew that this was a question. The Shakespeare authorship thing has been happening for probably, I think it's realistically since the 1800s. And there if you go back through history and you go back through like the contemporary things, like you can find allusions to it if you actually know what you're looking for. But it's at least interesting to me is the thing that I would say. I'm curious at least.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Googling it now, so you've got me intrigued.
And now that I'm thinking about this, the movie that got me interested in that is another. Jim Jarmusch made this movie called Only Lovers Left Alive. It's probably one of my like 15 or 20 favorite movies of the last, 20 years or so. I love it. I think it's just like this really fun, like weird vampire movie. And in it, like randomly, like the guy who wrote the Shakespeare plays is still alive and is a vampire. Like it's completely ridiculous and absurd. That is definitely not true, to be clear. But that is probably another thing where a movie made me at least like look into something a little bit deeper and be like, oh, is this a thing? Interesting.
Amazing. Like we went from Shakespeare and then vampires, so now we're into Twilight and what was my wife watch? The Lost Boys? Is that a vampire movie? She had that on, is that? Yeah, she had that on the other day. The Lost Boys. The 3-year-old twins from across the street came running through the house during a very scary part of that movie and caught a glimpse. And I was like, you're in trouble because that kid's going to have nightmares tonight.
Okay, Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah, at Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky, the Pistons Pulse podcast. After that preview drops the next couple of days, if you want some more, you can check that out. We'll have Keith Smith, Cap Guru, on Wednesday around noon. Otherwise, Game Theory Podcast right here with Sam Vecenie. Thank all of you. Rate, review, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, a like, whatever you can do to support the podcast. We really appreciate you.
Go over to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. Really, really fun set of things going on there at some point, including the draft guide, which hopefully will be filed by the end of the week. Go over to the Game Theory YouTube channel. Game Theory YouTube channel. You will be able to watch Bryce and I do all of the offseason previews. Bryce and I do these post-game things after conference finals, everything like that. Bryce, are you aware of if both of these series close out in the next 2 days, we got a break, man.
Yes,
like,
we do.
We got a real break. If we really, really want to, take some time off, but we probably won't. We'll take days off at least. But the thing is that there will be no days off on the channel, at least, because Bryce and I are way ahead on the off-season previews. Those are going to be coming every single day until basically the draft. There are a couple days off there beforehand, but basically you're going to have something every day until the draft on this channel, at least. And the best way to get it is over on the YouTube channel. Over 37,000 of you have subscribed over there. Thank you so much for that. And then over on the podcast feeds as well. Those are available. Game Theory Podcast with Sam Vecenie, Spotify, Apple, whatever podcasting platform you use. They are there 100%. I think that's all we got. Until next time, we'll talk soon.